Hello, 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 hello. It is 8:40 p.m. in the evening, and we are in for, I think you are in for a little bit of a treat if you are a real deep dive researcher, and if you're able to look at the things that they don't want you to see, you have come to the right place. Somehow or another, you have come to the right place. Mark Kulak, KUL ACZ, Houstonic.live, 8:40 p.m., Wednesday, September 17th, 2025. And the title of this show is September 11th, 2001. We know what happened that day. Live stream, Alex Jones live stream. I'm not an Alex Jones fan. My show tonight, a lot of the ideas were popping up today, but I was inspired to do a show by two people, actually. You both know who you are. Asked a couple questions about some of the video shorts I posted today regarding Alex Jones. I'm not an Alex Jones fan by any stretch of the imagination. We're going to try to refrain from using strong words like, I can't stand the guy, I hate the guy. He does drive me crazy, though. And I don't think he's working in the best interest of the United States of America, at the very least right now. I believe he is dishonest. Let's put it that way. It's probably the softest way you could put it right now. And this dishonesty costs people their lives. We're not talking about arguing about what the pitching rotation should be for the Boston Red Sox. We're not talking about different types of framing techniques for houses. We are talking about how people lying about why people are dying. And when they are, that what happens is more people can die. So we are talking about Alex Jones. We're talking about what was said on September 11th, 2001. Yes, in full disclosure, I did go through a little phase where I came to the conclusion, this is several years ago right now, that I wasn't getting the straight truth from mainstream media. So yeah, I did probably for a few weeks listen to Alex Jones and InfoWars. It didn't take me long to go, this doesn't feel right either, though. In my search, I stopped there, look around, had brunch, and I'm like, this isn't the place for me either. Wow, this seems even worse in a way. So I will never say that I never listened to him, because I did. I tried a lot of different things like that in my pursuit of trying to figure out what I could listen to, hence leading me here. But his words on September 11th, 2001, there was a 6-hour broadcast. There's only one place I was able to find the broadcast on the entire internet. One person posted it on BitChute, a full copy of the 6-hour broadcast. They posted it on BitChute November 25th, 2020, a little over 5 years ago. It may be available other places. I'm not going to say I can't get it anywhere else, but it was the only place I was able to find it. It's a radio broadcast, so it's audio only. The video that you can find on BitChute does include clips from the day from various outlets. You could tell that some of those video clips were made days afterwards, maybe even years afterwards. I'm not really sure, reflecting back on it. So, don't get too distracted by what is shown on the screen, because it was a radio broadcast. Now, the reason why I'm interested now in what Alex Jones said on September 11th, 2001 in particular, why am I critiquing it now, is because of, let's just be straight with it. It is because of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. I've taken all my content down about Charlie Kirk. I never even mentioned the name Charlie Kirk until a few days ago. And I tried to do some very high-level analysis, what this may be all about. And every few minutes, more junk came out, making it more and more difficult to figure out what exactly had happened. And I don't know what had happened. I'm not sure I agreed with all of his viewpoints, but I can appreciate his skill level. Charlie Kirk is his precision, his quickness. I mean, I'm someone who had to train sales professionals who would handle hundreds of millions of dollars a year in business. So I had to teach people on how to navigate sales conversations. I had to teach people how to do U-turns, how to turn being questioned into turning it into a question, how to get out of getting pushed into a corner with respect to debates. And I'm not always the quickest person on my feet with that stuff. So I say that because if there's anyone who appreciates how you have to strategize all that stuff ahead of time and how many hundreds or thousands of hours it can take amongst multiple people to come up with a good strategy on those types of discussions, it's me. And I watch Charlie Kirk, and I watch him just effortlessly. Again, you're watching the final product. It's like watching someone who practiced chess 50,000 hours or whatever the number would be, and then just crushing other people. It's not because they're figuring it out on the fly. I mean, they've already won the game. They win before you sit down. Charlie Kirk did the homework, and he had the right people to coach him, whoever those were. I don't mean to dismiss any of the capabilities of Charlie Kirk, but at the age 31, no matter how talented you are, smart or hardworking, you need coaching. And somehow or another, the right coaching found him. It's pretty amazing to watch him practice his art. He was very good. He could have cleaned house at a big tech company if that was his job. Anyways, I'm not here to discuss Charlie Kirk, age 31. Of course, most people barely know who they are at age 31, even if they have kids already. It takes a while. Charlie Kirk was still, as far as I can see it, very young. I was a totally different person. In some ways, you could see where I might have been heading, but at the age 31, I had a lot of learning left to do. And again, I don't even understand all of the different scenarios that could be at play. But one thing that I did note was very rapidly after the death of Charlie Kirk, tweets started to pop up and narratives started to pop up that Israel assassinated Charlie Kirk. Now, maybe Israeli agents did. I don't know. Could be any country. Could be Americans. I don't know. I haven't done a checklist of everyone that may want to do that. And again, I wasn't following Charlie Kirk's work. Thinking about it logically, if you want to win the hearts and minds of people in a public relations battle, why would the Israeli government even sign off on something like that? It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense, okay? And I got no skin in the game on that one. Keep in mind, okay, and I get really ticked off every time I hear the suggestion of, how could you have any opinion worth listening to if you don't think of Israel? Well, how about this? How is it possible that people can actually talk about a country on the other side of the planet with only a few more people in the state of Massachusetts? Half of the people in that country doesn't even like it. Above and beyond what was, over the last several years, the largest loss of life event in the history of the United States of America, which is the drug epidemic. Numerically, it is the largest loss of life event, especially when you factor in the average age of death and the number of people who died. The largest. The only one that, relative to the size of the population of the United States, was larger. The only one, it wasn't the 1918 flu even, it was the United States Civil War. That's the only one that was larger. So, I'm sorry. I guess people dying in my own country, mostly young, even including my own family, kind of trumps what's, some public negotiations and relationship of the country way over there. And I really want to extend multiple fingers at people that suggest that you should put that to the side and focus on Israel first. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Certainly, I believe if the U.S. just focused on what was going on inside first, other things would kind of work out. And I even think that people that are suggesting that we must push the opioid epidemic into the number 2 position and not think about it for a while until we figure out all of this sex trafficking in Israel, I believe that they are actually actively part of the problem. Actively part of the problem of covering up mass murder within our own country. So it was curious that, no sooner is Kirk dead than they're blaming on Israel with no evidence whatsoever other than, here's a Whitney Webb book and a series of complaints, and it's our gut. And then they showed some other, there was something at the Hamptons and this person. Come on, all of that could have so easily been set up ahead of time. Come on, so easily. But anyways, it's very similar to how many people say that Israel lately, you can see just look at the thumbnails on Rumble, that Israel's responsible for 9/11. Israel's responsible for September 11th, 2001. So Israel is just going to keep killing everybody in America, I guess, until they own it. Oh, that's right. Israel wants the money to make the Greater Israel Project. Who's going to live there? Is Israel on track to have like 10 people per family or something? Some trajectory that we don't know about? Because unless they are, There's no way they will have the population or the money to ever be able to pull that vision off. So I don't know what everyone's talking about, other than trying to find ways to get Americans mad at each other and beating each other up and ignoring problems with mass death and mass casualties within our own country. Here, this video is Alex Jones on September 12th, 2001. September 12th, 2001. I mean, I was just kind of rolling along with it. I knew something wasn't right. You know, I was focusing on my career, and I just got married in the year 2000. You know, there was a lot of things going on in my life, and wasn't politically active. I was so shocked. I grew up close to New York City. It was just, those buildings were built around the time that I was born. I was very crushed that day for so many different reasons. It's very complicated. But I didn't know what was responsible. I guess it was terrorists. Never could have imagined Americans would do that to their own country. I had no ability to understand the complexities of what was going on at the time. But Alex Jones, as we show here, within less than 24 hours, knows it's absolutely Israel. So people show this clip right now. And there's something about this clip and the rapid escalation to it's definitely Israel. It rhymes. It rhymes with exactly what just happened with Charlie Kirk. And how did Alex Jones on September 12th, 2001 behave?
Working with Israel to oppress the people of the planet. Israel loves it. That Nazi Sharon has invaded the West Bank. They're slaughtering innocent people. And I'm sick of worshiping Israel. Did you know back in the 1960s they bombed the USS Liberty knowing it was one of our ships because it caught the radio chatter of them killing thousands of Palestinian children during that invasion, and they torpedoed it as they begged for hours on the radio, and LBJ sat there in 63 and let them do it? That's in this Baltimore Sun story. I don't support the Palestinians either. They're all hyped up and psychotic.
Wow. Watch my program. I'm not bashing people in other countries. Just flat out judgment. Oh, these people are crazy. Those people are crazy. Those people are psychotic. Oh, my goodness.
But Israel's going to get us nuked, always backing them up like this. Israel calls the Palestinians goyim or cattle or dogs or subhuman. They keep them on concentration camps. I've got video of them taking Palestinian women's tomatoes they grow and breaking their water containers and stealing. That's why
the Israeli. I'm sorry, because again, I don't understand the nature of exactly what's happening in Gaza right now, and for people who know more about it than me, I'm so sorry if this is just completely inappropriate. Okay, I don't know. Okay, and if I don't know, I'm not going to comment on it. Certainly, there shouldn't be any ambiguity about it. It's disgusting that we actually have wars like, oh, this video here shows that there's a genocide. This video here shows it's a fake genocide. The U.S. has just got to back out. The U.S. has just got to get out of these things, okay? Really, we have enough problems. We just had the largest loss of life event in the history of the United States of America. We have got to get our own stuff in order. But Alex Jones, on the day after September 11th, he's pissed that Israel is stealing the tomato plants. Ruining the tomato plants. You don't get a lot of calories from tomatoes. You can't really live off tomatoes.
You have this crap, and our children are going to die. We're going to get nuked because of this. Iran's got the nukes now. Syria. We're going to have nuclear war because Israel likes to go around bombing everybody. I'm sorry. It's just the facts. And Israel absolutely is beside itself with joy right now. They are talking about how they're going to blow everything up, how they're going to attack everybody, and guess who's going to get bombed because of it?
Israel is beside themselves with joy, according to Alex Jones on September 12th, 2001. Beside themselves with joy. Really? Maybe somebody in Israel. I'll bet you if all 200 countries, maybe minus a few, you'll find at least one person in at least 180 countries that did a little fist bump and said, yeah, on the day of September 11th, 2001, for different reasons. Okay? I'm sure some people in Israel were happy, but Israel, like everyone in Israel, just stopped what they were doing and started dancing in the streets? Really?
I have been supportive of Israel for many years. When I found out what they do, shooting little Palestinian children in the genitalia and laughing, it's on video. Little 10-year-olds walking.
So on September 12th, he's mad that the Israeli soldiers are going around and shooting Palestinian children in the genitalia. Well, if that's happening, that's god-awful. Everyone knows that. Here's the problem, though. For 5.5 hours on September 11th, 2001, Alex Jones didn't mention any of this. I ran the September 11th 5.5 hour video through transcription. And Alex Jones went 5.5 hours without ever once saying it was Israel. I mean, I understand September 11th, we just had some of our most amazing pieces of construction in the history of the United States leveled. I understand you focusing on the U.S. first, but none of this stuff happened on September 11th. It happened on September 12th, though, that he suddenly now turned on Israel. He turned on Israel between September 11th and September 12th. And as of September 12th, he says, I'm tired of supporting Israel, is what Alex Jones says. Now, maybe he has some impressive evidence that it's Israel and only Israel that did this. They're running around, they're bombing everyone, and now they want to have nuclear warfare because they're psychotic Nazis. Maybe. I'm not in Israel. Never been to Israel. I probably never will go to Israel.
Walk around throwing rocks at tanks. A guy sits off a half mile away and blows their testicles off. They call them goyim. They call them dogs. They call the Arabs cattle. And then the corrupt Arab governments that are in league with this government, it's really a sick Hegelian dialectic, order out of chaos.
Hegelian dialectic. Australian guy loves to use that phrase. Interesting.
Bringing the world crisis,
Brendan
bringing
O'Connell.
them terrorism, so we'll accept a highly dictatorial police state regime. It's happening. The world.
So this is the September 11th broadcast. Again, it's audio only because it was just a radio broadcast, okay? We're not going to be here for 5 hours and 20 minutes. What we have now is if we go to the Houstonic website, if we go to click on the little calendar here, September 11th, 2001, Alex Jones radio broadcast. It's not a well-formatted page. I have some links in there, which I'm going to be walking through. But here's a transcript generated by YouTube. Now, there may be some instances where words are actually present in the transcript, but the transcription didn't work well. That's possible, okay? It would take a week to manually go through this transcript and reformat it and everything else. So, let's see. On September 11th, 2001, let's see what he did as far as talking about Israel, okay? Israel. So an hour and 51 in, he said, I do have a little information on Israel, that Israel is pledging aid to the United States as an ally, a call for all-out war on terrorism. Israel closed its airspace for 24 hours through all incoming traffic. As you can see, it's not formatted properly. It's just transcription. Israel's very upset, saying Iran now has nukes. So that's an hour and 52 minutes in. Let's see here. Later on, 2 hours and 38 minutes in, Israel is going to give its full support to the United States on an all-out war on terrorism. His words exactly according to the foreign minister, Shimon Peres. I think that was transcribed wrong. Let's see. Israel didn't take it on the chin. Prince Bernhard of the Netherlands didn't take it on the chin. The American people and hundreds of firefighters and hundreds of police and thousands of civilians, as they call us, they took a hit on the chin. Okay, that's... Americans are taking a hit on the chin, but I don't know what that has to do with Israel at this point. And that's mention number 8, mention number 9. Let's see here. So he talks about how Israel attack on the Navy, United States Navy eavesdropping ship in 1967, and something about the sinking was deliberate. I know about this story. I haven't researched it. I know it comes up a lot in these contexts. I don't have a particular opinion on it. I haven't researched it. But okay, that's one incriminating thing about Israel said here. Here, Israel has there's their troops. They have their airport security beefed up, at 4 hours or so in, and that's it. That's 5.5 hours. That's all he talks about Israel on September 11th. Now, he's, of course, allowed to learn new things and come to new conclusions and have new information available. Of course, he's allowed. But that is an incredible about-face that he was very certain on September 11th, 2001. The main things that he keeps saying is that it's the United States government. It's the United States government. It could be Muslims. It could be Islam's. But he is almost certain that it's the United States government. He is almost certain. He's already certain, Alex Jones is, on September 11th, that the buildings were blown up. He's certain of it. He's 99% certain it was the United States government blowing up the buildings. He is also nearly 100% certain that the reason why this was done was so that the United States could usher in martial law and for the military to take over. And it might also be done, if it was done by a foreign enemy, he also is open up to the door that it's the euro. Because I guess the euro is going live or something like that in a few weeks after this. And the euro is trying to kick the United States. Maybe it's the Council of Foreign Relations or something like that. But he is really certain it's the United States. Interesting calls. Some people call up and say, hey, Alex Jones, I saw U.S. troops, and they were getting more tanks, and they were getting ready to close off borders between states. And Alex Jones is like, see, yeah, this is exactly what I said. This is what I've been talking about. So he gets all excited about that. One caller called in and said, this is what the United States military is supposed to do if there's an event like this. It's not martial law. And Alex Jones gets pissed. Alex Jones wants it to be martial law. He's already concluded it's martial law and a United States a military takeover. And then he says, well, we love the military. Military is good. But martial law, they're going to take it over, and then they're working for the world government's new world order. So he's speaking out of both sides. He wants to be this pro-military, pro-American, flag-waving dude, but for some reason, a civilian-staffed U.S. military suddenly wants to enforce martial law and go around killing other civilians. Why? Really? I mean, I understand you got to listen to the people that are leading you, but really? It doesn't make any sense. So what I did today was I played a couple of clips, and the clips that I showed here might have suggested, if you only saw those clips and you didn't know anything about me, that I'm showing that Alex Jones is trying to show you the truth. And the things that I'm highlighting was Alex Jones talking about a biological terror attack, that he was predicting a biological terror attack, that he was told about a bioterror attack, that it was going to be anthrax or smallpox, and that anthrax or smallpox is still probably on the way, and millions of people are going to die. Somehow through the translation, okay, after the killing of Charlie Kirk, okay, we went from Alex Jones on September 11th talking about biological terrorism. Now, he still suggests it's the U.S. military doing it, okay, but at least he's talking about bioterrorism, to saying that Alex Jones was right, it's all Israel. You know what's odd? He never says Israel's doing the bioterror. That's very strange. I guess it's going to be the U.S. military doing the bioterror, but if it's not the U.S. military and the bioterror, then it's Israel. And Israel just blowing things up because they want to nuke people and they're psychotic Nazis or something like that. And they like to go around shooting people from Palestine in the balls. I'm sorry to say that in a way that's so cold, but it's so absurd. It's so absurd. It reminds me of the cartoons where they would draw German soldiers with what they call it, babies on a rifle.
What I meant to say here was babes on bayonets. Babies on bayonets.
Yeah, I'm sure there were a couple of assholes that did something horrible, but really? Everyone in Israel is just waking up in the morning, having a coffee and a donut, and then going off and then shooting people in the genitals? Really? So let's listen to the let's look at the timestamps, and which times do we need to be listening to? So let's start off by searching for anthrax. So let's listen to 649. This is the audio, September 11th, 2001. 649. Okay. This is minute 5.
To the World Trade Center towers when the first jet slammed into it this morning. Then another one slammed into it. He was there as the towers collapsed. Dead bodies up to 6 blocks away. Arms, legs, you name it. Another hijacked plane crashed south of Pittsburgh, PA. Officials investigating at another hijacking with the plane headed towards D.C. They are declaring a THREATCOM level Delta, the highest military threat. Under THREATCOM Delta, they are loading the nuclear bombs onto the planes. The missiles are ready. Everybody is buzzing around in the streets like bees. Radios and televisions are on. People are absolutely focused into it. We haven't seen something of this magnitude since the Kennedy assassination back in 1963. We were able to get Jim via his cell phone there on the scene amongst all of the carnage. We should be praying for the dead and dying and praying for this country and that God heal this land, this modern Babylon that would create something like this. I'll tell you the bottom line. 98% chance this was a government-orchestrated controlled bombing. I've been telling you this was going to happen. Just 2 weeks ago, I put the call out again for Operation Expose the Government Terrorist. We are not anti-government. We are anti-corrupt New World Order system that is taking control of our government every day. I read news stories where they were telling you that we were going to be hit by terrorists, that it was going to happen anytime, give up your rights. They've been telling us we're going to get hit by anthrax, we're going to get hit by smallpox. The AP reported on a secret meeting with the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the heads of the media, with fake newscasts they produced back in June, where they predicted 1 to 4 million dead from anthrax. Martial law was the term used. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but they've been preparing for it, and they have been saying it's going to happen.
So back in June, June 2001. So let's look at the anthrax bioterrorism timeline in 2001. Does anything in particular jump out at us in middle of June 2001? So August 2001. Let's see here. Their anthrax U.S. budgets were getting boosted to handle anthrax. We know that. August 29th, 2001. We know that the Dark Winter exercises. Here we are. There's Jerry Howard, Margaret Hamburg, Noon. I think Lugar was there also, talking about the the terrible tool. This is the Dark Winter exercises that they were doing. Margaret Hamburg, of course, one of the main characters in the Judith Miller Germs book. Here we are. Wow, this is July 2001, talking about a new types of anthrax vaccines, genetic anthrax vaccines. That's interesting. And the main paper sponsor is someone who is working with, let's see here, at Ohio State University, named Daryl Galloway. Daryl Galloway is a longtime business partner of Robert Malone. Here we are in May of 2017 at the Winber Research Facility, not too far from where a plane is definitely not going to crash, on September 11th, 2001, where Robert Malone is actually setting up the IT infrastructure. Robert Malone is probably just out of the view of the camera right here. The other people that may be there is the future ambassador to India, Richard Verma. Richard Verma, a local lawyer in Johnstown, becomes a longtime friend of both Harry Reid, senator of Nevada, as well as the local representative Murtha. And then he goes on to become a deputy at the United States State Department under Hillary Clinton, and then he goes on to become the first Indian ancestry ambassador to foreign ambassador to the nation of India. So there's also these videos, I should say a whole week, May 8th, 9th, and 10th, which I think Alex Jones is talking about. I need to update the links right here. A whole week where Congress is talking about a biological terror attack in a major U.S. metropolitan center involving anthrax or smallpox. All of the people there, all the conspirators are there, and they are going through the scenarios of what's going to be required for the United States military to fall under the control of FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Authority. Biden talking about nukes here, biological terrorism, February 13th, 2001. And it just goes on and on and on. Of course, the Human Genome Project also plays a role in here as well. So, we're going to get to what Alex Jones is referring to with a little bit more clarity in a moment. So, the word anthrax is also mentioned later on. There's a call. Let's see here, around 3:07. So let's go to the 3:06 mark. I went to 3 hours and 5 minutes.
All right, we had Jim Wright on the line. He was on twice with us today, but there have been intermittent phone problems, even here in Austin, Texas, making local calls. Suddenly, my local cell phone, I had to dial the area code of Austin to even get through to people in my own town when I was out driving around this afternoon.
September 11th,
so we had
2001.
him via a cell phone connection, and we will go ahead and get him on. Again, for those that don't know, there was a massive series of bombings, starting with the South World Trade Center that later collapsed, the Northern World Trade Center that later collapsed.
Bombings. He's saying bombings. He's not saying that the planes flew into the buildings. He's just saying bomb. He is operating as if he is 100% effectively already sold that it's a bombing. Now, I believe that the buildings were blown up. But, I mean, I didn't know what to believe that day. I was working on a piece of software for multipathing on a storage area network. You know, I'm not a ballistics expert. But Alex Jones is 100% certain. I think that's a very irresponsible thing to do. Even if he believes they were, you could report that the planes flew in, the buildings blew up, and he could voice that that a lot more research needs to be done, but he already has questions. That's fine, but he's reporting it as it was bombings. Very irresponsible.
The Pentagon, another that crashed outside Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I am very concerned about...
How does he know that the Pentagon was a crash and not a bomb? Because the Pentagon didn't collapse? Maybe someone brought a bomb into the Pentagon and blew it up and then threw a tail fin out in the yard. I don't know. But no skepticism whatsoever when it comes to the Pentagon regarding that explosion.
A possible biological attack as we speak. We won't know for 3 or 4 days if it's anthrax or smallpox.
How the hell does he know that? We won't know for 3 or 4 days if it's anthrax or smallpox. How do you know that? How does he know that? That is incredibly precise. Why not 18 hours? Why not 2 weeks? It's such an incredibly precise number. We won't know for 3 or 4 days. How will we know? People get sick. People get sick for all kinds of different things. Is Alex Jones familiar with DNA microarrays? How does he know that? That's a very suspicious statement to make with such authority and certainty, especially about biological terrorism, and especially knowing that nobody wants to talk about that. We just had a conference in Washington, D.C. At least a couple hundred people showed up. I didn't. I don't get invited to something like that. Where there were 24 people spoke at length for 3 days, and not one person mentioned that there was 5 years of nonstop talk about biological terrorism, anthrax or smallpox, and it was such a thing that Alex Jones was even dedicating time on his September 11th broadcast to talking about it. He knows that the Arab governments have it. Okay, so let's go to the next one here. 4 hours, 59 minutes. Okay, so let's go over to 4 hours and 58 minutes or so. I think this is a mention of anthrax or smallpox made by a caller to the program, okay?
Child abuse, we could put a camera in everyone's house.
Yeah, those that give up liberty for security will get neither. They're using this pretext, and Joe just glazes over the actual NSA documents proving the feds were planning to blow up all this stuff.
The way I see it is there is a spectrum of regulation in the name of safety. On one end of the spectrum, you have complete anarchy. On the other end of the spectrum, everyone is put in a room, locked up, and a camera is on them. I think we have moved towards that latter spectrum so far that it is time for me to say enough. And let me just say this. I was talking to someone one day, and we were talking about the fact that the government now has a digital pre-wire for a tap on everyone's phone, and they don't have to get a court order. And he supported this because he said, well, my neighbor may be making a bomb.
When it violates the Fourth Amendment, what does that say about society? And then you see all the government terrorism in all these documented cases staring us right there in the face, and it violates our Fourth Amendment. And those people don't believe in our system of government.
By the way, Alex Jones talked extensively on September 11th that this was something that was going to be done to take away guns from Americans. Now, are there things which seem to be done to reduce gun ownership in the United States? Yes. But there were almost no calls whatsoever, in retrospect, from anybody to reduce guns after September 11th, 2001. They didn't stop Alex Jones from saying it over and over and over again, getting people all whipped up. How many people went out and bought guns because they heard Alex Jones saying that that's what they're doing?
Right. My comment to this guy who supported it was, look, if my neighbor is building a bomb, it's just, it's my time to go. I do not want to, in the name of safety, I will not be convinced by any number of bombings or shootings that my neighbors are so bad.
Well, cars cost 350,000 deaths a year. Are we saying ban them?
Right. I mean, I will not be convinced that my neighbors should all be locked up and fed raw meat under the door.
About 28,000 people die every year in automobile accidents in the United States of America. Maybe it was 30,000, not 300,000. I think Alex Jones is... I don't know what causes everything to be multiplied by a factor of 10, but it's not 300,000. Maybe there's 300,000 accidents, but there's not 300,000 fatalities.
And that's basically what the New World Order is pushing for, so they can control us. People say, well, why would they want to do that? Well, why did they do it all throughout history? Because they're control freaks.
Exactly. And, Joe asked, why would the government want to do anything bad? And, a story that my dad had when he was in high school is they found out some of the students were flushing cherry bombs down the toilet and damaging the plumbing.
Sorry, I'm letting this part play out. It's just such a long video, I can't
found out their dads were the plumbers that
dial it in properly. So you just have to deal with it.
And so when you're in the business of controlling people through laws, especially if you have a syndicated crime type mentality, which many of our elected officials do.
Yeah, they caught the biggest windshield company in an area of New York going out at night and breaking windshields.
Right. You may have to create a market for the type of control.
Create a market for the police state. Great points, Daryl, and I wish we'd have had more time for you and everybody tonight. Let's talk to Jay in Dallas. And tomorrow night it will be wide open.
So they're doing it so they could sell more security.
And no guests. I'm making a rule because I want to take your calls. Jay in Dallas about the attack on America, as the media is calling it. Go ahead.
Yes, I'd just like to say something that I haven't found that the media has said anything about. And I've thought about it today. Those planes went through those buildings fairly high up. And I thought, I wonder why they, just didn't hit the ground and just blow a bunch of people up that way. And then I thought, what if they had some kind of chemical or biological weapon on board, a little bottle of this or a little bottle of that? And we know Saddam Hussein at least our government's told us that Saddam Hussein has been manufacturing chemical weapons.
Yeah, I put that on my website this morning that there's a good chance, and I said this is speculation, but they keep telling us it's going to happen, and we know they have it, that a biological agent could be spread here in a water supply, or Lord knows what these terrorists have done incrementally, and it takes 4 or 5 days, at least 3 days, to find out what smallpox or anthrax it was delivered through a system, and by then it could be spread all over the country. And think of how we'll be able to radically reorganize our society, confiscate private property, if this really happens. Who stands to gain from it? Who has the motive, Jay? That's what I ask you.
Well,
okay, that's a fair question. Who has the motive? So there's going to be a biological terror attack so they can take property? Really? Really? I mean, okay, I guess, maybe. But what are the other options? What other options are there? Why else would someone do such a thing?
I think a lot of countries have a motive. I think, though, that we have not too many countries that actually use suicide bombers. Most of the Middle East people who want to be martyrs, I mean, that's their religion.
Okay.
And
this guy is. I have to go just a little bit more forward here. If I can just get to 501. Okay, there we go.
It's almost like it's every man for himself when this happens. It's going to be, can you sneak through and get someplace that's halfway safe? I guess.
Fox News a few months ago, they're saying 1 to 4 million dead. We're going to get hit by biologicals. It's not a question of if but when. And
Fox News said that. Really? That's odd because not one single soul at the getting to the truth, turning the truth around and blowing in the other direction or whatever 9/11 conference said that. I would think that if there were, and here's the thing, that was on Fox News. There were nonstop conferences. There were nonstop press conferences. There were nonstop congressional hearings for years about that. It's not once. For 4 or 5 straight years, it was the talk of the town. The Human Genome Project alternating with the upcoming, almost impossible to avoid, biological terror event. They went back and forth between those two. How can and no one will mention that. They just wanted to take away guns and Israel is full of assholes. That is what it comes down to.
Martial law, and they say a foot and mouth is released.
Foot and mouth disease.
In the United States, they're going to make farmers stay on their property, and the Army's going to bring them food. And then I point out, not a conspiracy, absolute fact. The government of England admits it. Portendown Bioweapons Lab. The biologicals were released from that laboratory. And now the government...
Isn't that interesting? Because Portendown is connected with the factory in Michigan that's making the old anthrax vaccine. The same one which the United States military was trying to manufacture enough, but Merrill Nass, amongst other people, was saying that the factory was dirty. Hence meaning that if there was a biological terror attack, as what Alex Jones agrees, everyone was predicting, they would need to have protection. Where are you going to get the protection if the old anthrax vaccine is shut down? Well, golly gee, you just might need to go with experimental gene therapy, DNA vaccines, exactly the type of thing that Robert Malone was working on, along with colleagues such as Daryl Galloway. Isn't that odd?
After the foot and mouth is over, says we may not allow you to restock cows and sheep for the earth. Give us your property. BBC, foot and mouth section of Infowars.com. We're not making this stuff up.
Well, it's out there, and everybody can see it, and the government, the media, and everybody else has been talking about biological warfare.
Well, that's my point.
Everyone's been talking about it.
And how they had plants, man.
People weren't saying that Israel liked to go around and steal tomato plants and shoot kids in the genitals and then start nuclear warfare. They were talking about biological terrorism in 1997, in 1998, in 1999, and 2000, and all through 2001. And as a matter of fact, Joe Biden, Senator Biden, was talking about it on September 10th, 2001 in a press conference. September 10th, 2001, they were talking about it. Biden was talking about it with Joshua Lederberg in a United States congressional hearing on September 5th or 6th, 2001. I think it kind of matters that this is what everyone was talking about. And you know what? No one has made any progress on September 11th, 2001. That's the truth. The research on September 11th, which has been accumulated so far by hundreds, if not thousands of other people, has accomplished absolutely nothing whatsoever other than to get people further and further away than from what all of the evidence at the time shows. They're having conferences, they're writing books, they're trying to upstage each other, they're starting new channels on YouTube and promoting each other louder and louder, and I guess they're right now left with no other option other than just to scream Israel louder and louder until eventually people can't hear the fact that up until September 11th, 2001, and on the day of September 2001, they were only talking about biological terrorism. Only.
We didn't do anything about it then. We could have went over and bombed the plants, got rid of the plants. We just let them.
Did you see last Thursday the AP, Reuters,
and this is the game changer,
giant anthrax plant, living live virus anthrax plant, or live bacteria anthrax plant that they're building here in the United States?
Yes, I did see that.
Now that's not.
So, Alex Jones at 5 hours and 2 minutes in talks about the anthrax plant. You know what factory he's talking about right there? You know what factory he's talking about right there? Let's scoot on over to this computer here. That is actually mentioned in the New York. He's actually referring to this. It's a New York Times, September 4th, 2001 article. United States Germs warfare research pushes treaty limits. Let's see here. Does it actually have the author listed here? They don't actually specify. It's written by a, let's see here. They don't actually list the author. But if you read through it, towards the end, the authors have reported on biological weapons for the New York Times and based this article on material gathered for their book, or their upcoming book, Germs, Biological Weapons and America's Secret War, which is being published this month, meaning September 9th, 2001. So Alex Jones, on September 11th, 2001, proves Housatonic Live right. He didn't say that it was the Jews in Israel. He says that there's this anthrax plant. Oh, that's right. It's an article. He is referring to Germs. The article that he is referring to is this. Alex Jones, on September 11th, 2001, saying what everyone in Washington, D.C. knew, the callers agreeing with it, was this. Somehow, every single, and I have to use some pretty vile language here, okay? And the reason I'm using vile language is because while everyone right now is spitting about Jeffrey Epstein and all this other junk, every other distraction, the United States just had its largest loss of life event in the history of the nation. The only one, population adjusted, which was worse, was the United States Civil War. And almost every single podcaster out there continues to ignore it day after day after day. And they wake up excited to find more reasons to ignore it because that's how they get paid. So I am free to say that every piece of shit, worthless researcher, podcaster out there, you continue to ignore this book, even though Alex Jones himself was referencing content from this book on September 11th, 2001 during his live broadcast. And then he pivoted the day afterwards to not mentioning this book anymore. He got the order, don't mention that book anymore. Don't mention it. Don't mention it. Just scream Israel. And when you can't scream Israel louder, eventually we're going to create this fantasy island hopping philanthropist Jewish guy who just goes around trafficking, raping, and eating women and playing around with babies, Jeffrey Epstein. That's going to check every single super salacious conspiracy box imaginable. And people aren't going to be allowed. We are going to take the oxygen out of the room and not allow anything else to be spoken about. Because America and the entire online community that wants to know what happened on September 11th, 2001 will completely and irreversibly wake up after one and only one thing. They digest this book, which Alex Jones himself, much as I hate him, was referencing on September 11th, 2001. New York Times was posting it. All of these other publications out there were talking about it. All U.S. newspapers. The Ohio newspapers were talking about the plant in Ohio, connected with Ohio State University, where Robert Malone's future longtime business partner, Darrell Galloway, was working. You know why? Actually, he was already connected because Galloway was using plasmids that I believe were manufactured by Vical Corporation, where Robert Malone had his patents. So, one step removed, Alex Jones is talking about the Robert Malone and Robert Malone Associates and Robert Malone's network here. And even with this little, shout out to the badness of Porton Down, not that I'm a big fan, he's even doing a hat tip to Meryl Nass's work and gumming up the possibility of using a traditional anthrax vaccine, which I don't think really works that well either. But it sure is a lot better than using the United States military as a bunch of experimental test animals. The best theory that Alex Jones has, they're doing it to take the guns. They're doing it because Israel likes to shoot kids in the balls for fun after stealing their tomato plants and then getting ready to nuke people because it's fun and they're Nazis and stuff. That type of rhetoric doesn't work on Americans. I'm sorry. I know they want to keep chanting it. But you have to accept the fact that America is a multiracial, multi-ethnic society. You talk to enough Americans, almost every family right now has someone in there in their family tree who's Korean, who's black, who's white, who's Christian, who's Buddhist, who's atheist, and trying to pin it all on this one, mythical demonic group of people. It doesn't work in the United States. I think we've actually we've crossed that a long time ago. It is an absolute masterpiece. I am sorry for to the family of Charlie Kirk. I'm so sorry for your loss. I don't know. All I can say is we've had a loss too. And there was nothing on this end. As a matter of fact, we've gotten ridicule and have been told to shut up to allow focus on Israel. And look at these other books here. Let's not forget the fact that a woman named Nancy Hagwood went on to blame Bruce Ivins, a Christian scientist who then some people went on to say was a crazy Zionist, in the United States Army responsible for the anthrax letters. Oh, isn't that odd? Because Nancy Hagwood, as this book here shows, has known Robert Malone since 1987 or 1988. That's right. The person that said Bruce Ivins did the anthrax letters is a Robert Malone associate since the late 1980s. She's the third most frequent co-author of Robert Malone's postdoc advisor, Murray Gardner. It's even possible that Robert Malone himself called Nancy Hagwood and asked her if she could help out with a favor and create some evidence and tell a backstory that Bruce Ivins did the anthrax letters. And Robert Malone is the person that to this day, Alex Jones loves. Isn't that odd? Isn't it odd how Alex Jones, he just seems to like all the Americans who are, they're The people that seem to be backstabbing the country the most and while lying about it, for some reason, are always the ones that Alex Jones seems to like the most. Oh, here's 3 seconds to midnight. Stephen Hatfield talking about basically, we're going to have this great big new pandemic, released on November 1st, 2019, referencing the entire network again. We have the Richard Preston and his Demon in the Freezer book. That was released after September 11th, 2001. I think more importantly, though, the one that I don't have in front of me, was it the Cobra event or was it the Hot Zone? It was the Hot Zone book, where he's actually using other associates of Robert Malone, such as Heinz Feldman, referenced by Richard Preston all the way back in 1994. And Heinz Feldman, that's odd because he went on to become, even though he's German, the scientific director of the Rocky Mountain Laboratory, where his student, Emmy DeWitt, is the first person to take a photograph of the SARS-CoV-2 virus in early 2020. Very helpful, the first person, who's this? That's right, Michael Osterholm. Michael Osterholm, Living Terror, associate long time of Larry Ghostin. And Michael Osterholm was connected with that in a way which I've talked about on previous shows. And I mean, I can just go on and on and on here. What I have just shown is Alex Jones, who right now everyone is trying to say, knew that Israel did it, 9/11, was actually talking about the very book that I, and only I, have highlighted. The very book that contains the names of almost every single 9/11 conspirator of importance. It even includes Philip Zelikow, who went on to run a 9/11 commission. That's right. Alex Jones, on September 11th, 2001, referenced a book where it has multiple references to the future executive director of the 9/11 commission, Philip Zelikow. And somehow, the money just keeps flowing to everyone else. I have to use my savings. I have to burn my life out doing this. By the way, thank you to Christy. I don't know if you're in the chat tonight. I'm not looking at the chat. Very generous support. Thank you. And again to Gene, thank you. Thank you to T for your monthly contribution, Patreon. Thank you. I'm not mad at you guys, and some of you give way more than you really should be. I feel terrible, but it's really sad when other people I know have at least 7 digits sitting in a bank account somewhere and will barely give anything, even though I'm the only channel in the world. Look, I didn't write this book. They wrote this book. And as Joe Biden said, Senator Biden said on September 10th, 2001, he told people about the planes going in the buildings. He told people about anthrax in the belly of planes. He told people about the possibility of an upcoming nuke. Geez, given the fact that America's belief in nukes was waning, wouldn't it have been impressive if the buildings blew up and you could just tell people it was a nuke? That would have been perfect. That would have been a valid reason. You get rid of the evidence. You can tell people that there were hijackers and that's why you didn't find it, because there was a nuke. And you can reinforce the suitcase nuke narrative. Of course, if suitcase nukes were real, why not just use one? Oh, that's right. You need a building the size of the World Trade Center to plant enough bombs to then create a mythology that you have a suitcase nuke, or a suitcase nuke is possible. Again, to protect all of this other this malarkey. I love talking about the movies. Remember, there was a movie with I can't think of the guy's name right now, Bruce Willis, that was released in 1999 about the risk of the U.S. Army taking over, enforcing martial law and police control over the United States of America. Interesting fear-mongering. Interesting that this biological terror attack was planned in the United States, the one place that the U.S. Army couldn't protect. Odd. How does the U.S. military protect the homeland if there's no active war in the homeland? It can't. That is why you would stage an attack in the homeland, which would then allow the military to be put under control of FEMA. And you wouldn't use another country. That's interesting. So how would the military stop it? They can't. Unless, of course, they find another partner. You know where that's going. The other part of this is, the other movie is, and I couldn't even believe this one, because Alex Jones liked to talk so much about militia. Militia, militia, militia. Militia, militia. Let's look at this incredible, and then I'm going to sign off. IMDb movie from the year 2000, and this is a movie. It's a terrible movie. Okay, you can just look at the preview here. It's a movie called Militia. It hit the theaters in 2000, but it's all over cable channels like Cinemax and HBO and Showtime around the summer of 2001. So the odds are that people are being told about this amazing upcoming book, Germs, and then they're watching this terrible B movie called Militia. So we're just going to watch the trailer for Militia. It looks like one of the worst movies ever made. It actually got terrible reviews. It's like 3.5 out of 10 stars or something like that. It is about martial law takeover in the United States of America because it looks like the United States military is going to use strategic missiles with anthrax in them to kill the United States president. Right around the time of 9/11, this is what people are seeing.
A new world order is coming.
A new world order. A new world order is coming. There's going to be martial law. There's going to be anthrax, biological terror, millions dead. FEMA's going to take over. Wow, this is a pretty incredible movie. And I guess you better watch out for the U.S. military. Military is bad. The military, our civilian staff military, every once in a while just goes bonkers and starts killing Americans. That is why you need heroic people like Senator Biden to stand up and say, we need to create a new Department of Homeland Security. We need to reimagine the military. But you know what? Given the fact that we already have 3 million Americans signed up for the U.S. military, and we can't trust them because they like to wave flags and stuff, look where that got us. Maybe before we send them on one last mission over to the Middle East, we should try an experimental gene therapy vaccine on them. The movie doesn't get to that. However, if you can't use the old anthrax vaccine because the factory shut down, thank you, Meryl Nass, you're left with no option but to use technology connected with Robert Malone, Daryl Galloway, and others on the U.S. military to protect them.
The threat is growing.
Can I help you guys? I don't think so. But thank you anyway.
A secret army is spreading.
A dictatorship like none the world has ever seen.
We're in business.
The only hope
We're going to stop the largest illegal arms operations in history.
is a government agent and a man he's sent to prison.
You and Fane are going back into the Brotherhood.
How do I know
White
once we're inside,
supremacist. Perfect. I think Oklahoma City bombing got us ready for that one.
you won't just kill me?
I want to stop them just as much as you do.
This is about an eye for an eye.
Secret militia.
Jackpot.
In 48 hours, our beloved president will be dead.
Every conspiracy freak's dream come true.
Americans are going to rise up by the millions. I'm going to be the man to lead them.
Anderson wants to pull the both of you out. He says it's getting too risky.
The day of reckoning is at hand.
Dean Cain, Jennifer Beals, Frederick Forrest, Stacy Keach.
Countdown to a new America. Happy 4th of July.
Militia.
I'm gonna toss out one idea here and then I'm signing off. What if all the way back in the 1960s they knew that the communist Marxist infiltration in the United States was picking up so much steam that they could see something like this happening in the future? What if it was known that there was going to be forces trying to subvert the U.S. military? What if, starting under Nixon, they created a very small agency called the Office of Net Assessment to oversee the actual risks to the United States government? What if it was known during the future threat assessments, research that was done by the Integrated Commission for Long-Term Strategy with people such as Kissinger and Lederberg and so on and Brzezinski, that they knew that the future wasn't going to be about tanks or missiles even. It was going to be about advancing computing and advancing, eventually, knowledge of the human genome and the capabilities of humans even. That is where it was all going to be. Isn't it odd that that almost entire panel wound up being part of the Project of New American Century, PNAC, which is simply spun off as a neocon pro-Israeli thing. But that's not why it was created. It was created understanding that the future was going to create a divide such as this. What if this type of divide is gone so far that we now have had for the last 25 years warfare on our own territory, which kill thousands of people at a time? And instead of having any nuanced, meaningful discussion about it, we're only talking about Israel and Epstein and transgenders. There's no actual meaningful discussion about what matters most, about what the most people are dying, about why life expectancy drops, about where the real concern about the security of the United States is. We are talking about Jews, Epstein, and transgenders, and white supremacists, and hate speech. We can't get there. And right now, as far as I'm concerned, the alt media community that won't allow this book to headline a 9/11 conference is every bit as much of the enemy of the United States of America as the mainstream media is. That's my show for tonight, everyone. Thank you for the person that made the old Alex Jones archive video possible. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The internet still works if you know how to use it. It does not work as a feed. Turn off the feed, but when it comes to searching, you know what you want. The internet still works. I still have hope in it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening. Take care. Have a great night. God bless.